As I mentioned in my opening statement, West Virginia state agencies are now funding multiple folks in the Services Elkins Field office to obtain the Section 7 consultations. 2 weeks ago, I introduced the Restart Act with members of this committee. The bill includes a program that would allow for states to assume the Section 7 responsibility of the service. There's precedent for states assuming a federal agency's responsibility under other environmental laws like NEPA. So my assumption would be more efficient for states, rather than using their funds to pay for federal staff to do the same work, indirectly, to do it more directly through the state, and would help resolve the apparent staffing issues that is facing the service. I think I know what you're going to say to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you support an assumption program for Section 7 consultations by the states?
Thank you, Chair. And I have not seen the text yet, but of course I support assistance in achieving these consultations. And I'd like to not have to use transfer authority. I'd like to not have to ask other agencies to help support our capacity to complete our work, hence the budget request before you today. So, and I know that increased capacity is not always the answer. In this instance, it is important.
Are there other ways that your service can work with the states to sort of ameliorate these problems?
Senator Capito, yes. I mean, an example is the IPAC process. I think for us to work with the states in obtaining information and streamlining project proposals, absolutely, it's constantly building that relationship. So yes, there are ways to work with the states. I hope that we already do. Some state agencies, as you have indicated, we have an easier time coming up with memorandums and agreements, but we know it's always important to build out that relationship. So we do work hand in hand, right. And should.
And should, yes. You and I have talked repeatedly about my concern with the uplisting of the northern long-eared bat from threatened to endangered. And I do appreciate that the service delayed the effective date of this listing to further consult with stakeholders on the transition. According to your own agency, bat populations are declining due to white-nose syndrome. Has the service explored the possibility of allowing 4D rules for endangered species that are listed due to effects unrelated to infrastructure development, such as white-nose syndrome?
Thank you, Senator Capito, for that question. And yes, it's something we certainly would consider, but don't feel the Endangered Species Act allows us to have a 4D rule with an endangered status. With that said, in the delayed effective date for the uplisting from threatened to endangered for the northern long-eared bat, we have been working with our partners to get those assurances in place and allow both protection for the bat and for projects to move forward. So while a 4D rule technically is not available for endangered status, we still have lots of options to work with our partners and certainly have a long track record of doing so with bats, Indiana bats, for example, and northern long-eared bats.
Yeah, I know. I mean, obviously, this particular bat, the northern long-eared bat, is found in, I think 37, 38 states.
Yes.
I asked you this on the phone the other day, but I just wanted to get it out. The service is planning to vaccinate bats to prevent white-nose syndrome, and what is the progress on that?
Thank you for that question too, Senator Capito. So we are trying to approach white-nose syndrome in a number of ways. One is to conserve bats that are still existing so that they are still around for when we do find a solution for white-nose syndrome. One option that we are researching is vaccines for bats, but there are a whole number of projects that we are working with all of our partners to try to find a solution to white-nose syndrome. And I think we've made some progress, but we certainly haven't solved it.
Thank you.